After completing this chapter, the learner will be aware of the reasons for the MARPOL Convention, be aware of the 5 main types of pollution in the marine environment and why these have become an increasing problem during the 20th century, be aware that there are requirements for survey and certification under MARPOL, know what MARPOL means by a pollution incident, and be aware of the requirements to report pollution incidents. This CBT is a guide to the MARPOL Convention. Your ship almost certainly has a copy on board, and you may find it useful to have it with you during this training. During the 20th century, there was increasing marine pollution as the number of ships and their size increased. The pollution of most concern was oil. Its increasing transport as cargo led to routine operational pollution as cargo tanks were cleaned out. Public concern about oily beaches resulted in a number of international conferences, which finally led to the adoption of the MARPOL Convention in 1954. 20 years later, the MARPOL Convention was considered to need replacement for several reasons. Most notably, MARPOL was voluntary and contained weak enforcement powers. Several tanker accidents had occurred, resulting in serious pollution, notably the Torrey Canyon. When MARPOL was introduced, it had 5 annexes, each covering one source of pollution. Only Annexes 1 and 2 were mandatory. Growing worldwide recognition of the problems caused by the other types of pollution has gradually led to the voluntary annexes becoming mandatory, and a 6th annex being added. There are 5 main types of pollution in the marine environment: oil pollution, chemical pollution, sewage pollution, garbage pollution, and air pollution. Click on the buttons to find out more about how ships can cause them. Some MARPOL annexes require ships to be surveyed and issued with certificates. This is mainly because the previous anti-pollution convention was considered to have failed due to lack of enforcement, but also because compliance with some MARPOL rules cannot easily be proven while the ship is in service. A certificate can show compliance has been checked. Apart from MARPOL surveys, your ship may be subject to port state or flag state inspections between surveys to ensure that the rules continue to be complied with. In MARPOL, a pollution incident is defined as a discharge or probable discharge above the MARPOL permitted levels. MARPOL requires pollution incidents to be reported so that action can be taken to clean up the pollution. You have now reached the end of this chapter, which has introduced some of the thinking behind the MARPOL Convention. We have considered a brief history of how the MARPOL Convention came to be, the reasons for its 6 annexes, why ships sometimes need MARPOL surveys and certificates, and what a pollution incident is and the reason for reporting one. Before moving on to the next chapter, you should complete the following self-test questions to check what you have learned so far.